Hello everybody, Wolfpack here, and welcome to a very exciting video. Today we will be taking a first look at the new DLC for Gates of Hell, Liberation. The new Liberation DLC will add the United States as a playable faction, along with the entire Western Front theater of operations. We will be able to fight from Point du Hoc to the heart of the Reich. In this video, I am joined by another content creator, Enigma, and some developers of Gates of Hell who graciously decided to join us. We end up playing a handful of multiplayer rounds while Enigma and I interview the developers. This interview here is significantly edited down. It primarily contains questions regarding the Liberation DLC. If you wanted to check out the full interview, which is over an hour and a half long, be sure to head over to Enigma's channel and give that a look. I do hope you all enjoyed the video, and I look forward to playing more Liberation in the future. Also, be sure to check out the pinned post to see what Liberation is all about. It releases on November 29th. Anyway, enjoy.
It is interesting because this unit selection that's in this one feels like it's much more focused, because at least with Ostfront, like the original one, it was the entire Eastern Front, and then with Scorched Earth you stretched it out more, so you guys were covering a really wide range. With this one, like the unit, it definitely feels like it's much more focused, and like there's a lot more variety with like the similar type units. 'Cause I'm looking at the infantry, and like there's a lot of different ones, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So for Liberation, we went for an interesting approach where we, instead of doing, for the single player aspect, instead of focusing on just doing random battles here and there that are not interconnected, we've gone for like a unit-based storyline. So we're focusing 2 German units and 2 US units throughout the course of the war in an attempt to create a sort of storyline effect. And I think that's more relatable to players, something that feels more like there's continuity. And depending on the reception of this new recipe, we may go for one direction or another. But what we were trying to do is give a bit more of a story feel to the single player, since we already have dynamic campaign and PvE that allows you to play more like loose single missions.
Yeah.
And also one important consideration to be done is that in the Western Front there were a lot of armies fighting together. The British, the Free French, the all sorts of resistance fighters from multiple nations. The Commonwealth themselves have a lot of like Canadians and Scottish and etc. So we don't want to depict the Allies all in the one go because it would be impossible. So we kind of chose units that fought in particular situations where these would only fight Americans, and the British were not involved and other nations were not involved, so that in the future we can do those nations and create a much more broad and like increase the coverage of the Western Front as a whole. So it could seem like this DLC is very focused, but there is a wider scope to this whole plan, if that makes sense.
What had you go with the Americans first, as opposed to the British?
I think that's more of a marketing decision.
Yeah, I was curious if that was the primary motive, which makes sense, frankly.
Well, you see, there's a number of things that can be said about that. Obviously, you know, we don't mind selling as many games as we can. However, what we also want is a community, a tight community that likes playing the game together.
Right.
And we thought the biggest step to make in the community would probably be if we did the US first. And you know, everything's open from here. Everything, literally everything. But what we do hope is that this will be a big step into getting a much higher median number player number.
Yes, deciding what maps, like what areas you want to depict in the campaign and on the maps is something you all decide on in pre-production. And then if something happens to I don't know, spill over and can be used elsewhere. You cross that road later on.
Yeah, and then we decide, you know, how much stuff do you want to make part of a DLC, and how much stuff do you want to make part of like a free content update that gets released at the same time as the DLC. Because we don't, you know, we don't want to create the experience that only favors the DLC people. We want to make the game bigger and better for everybody, whether you want to buy DLCs or not. And that's the whole point of content updates.
Well, that's the interesting thing that actually, and I mean this genuinely, because I even told this to Flick the other day, or when Scorchers came out. Like, I was so surprised by the cost. I was like, this is actually like a really good deal. I was surprised by how much content came with it and how cheap the DLC was, or what not cheap, but like, you know, how well priced it was, and the content update you guys have, like, it's actually pretty insane how much stuff you put into them.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and some of those campaign missions are massive. Like the Sevastopol one is like huge.
Yeah, they are pretty huge. Yeah, that's whole. Like, we wanted to finish telling off more of the Eastern Front, so we were compelled to do something with that package, either market it as a DLC or release it for free. And in the end, it was decided that we should release it as a small DLC, and that's what we did.
Which I think, considering everything that's there, is totally fair. Yeah, those are some of the coolest missions and set pieces. Which impresses me every time I play the single-player campaign. It's just how much work goes into scripting and such, too.
Yeah, scripting is quite a large chunk of the work, because you want to make sure that missions are not monotonous. So for Liberation, we added quite a couple new game mechanics or mission stories that go differently. In the German campaign, you can, I'm not going to spoiler anything, but essentially you can choose to end the war or fight to the death in a certain moment. And you have to evacuate wounded in some other parts of the campaign, and you have to do things that are a little bit outside the box.
Oh, cool.
So that there's always something new. It's not just doing the same routine, but with a different nation or a different map. It has to be a genuinely new experience.
Baldur's Gate 3 storyline options.
Yeah, let's add some role-playing options.
There's gonna be 2 campaigns. The USA one, and the USA one tells the story of the 2nd Rangers, which are the ones that landed at Pointe du Hoc, and the 3rd Armored Division, which was one of the main armor divisions that fought all the way from Normandy to the capitulation of Germany. So with those 2 units, we can depict a lot of locations of the war. Normandy, the Battle of the Bulge, Operation Cobra, the fight around Hürtgen Forest, and the fights for the heart of Germany in 1945. So it was quite a good choice. And then for the Germans, we chose the 116th Panzer Division and the 3rd Fallschirmjäger, both of which fought for the whole of the Western Front, from Normandy to the end of the war, and equally have a lot of cool places and different locations where they fought.
Oh wait, I think I remember reading that you guys partnered with like a museum or something, right? In order to get access to the tanks to model them.
Yeah. Tyler, want to talk about that? Because you were involved there.
I am curious, just on the upfront, like when you call up a museum, you're like, hey, we're making a game, we want to model the tanks. Are they like, do they understand, or do you have to explain to them like what gaming is? I'm just kind of curious.
So where I live, there is a World War II armor is the name of the, I guess you could say, museum, but they're not like a traditional museum, just to get a little bit of who they are. They're like a traveling museum. They have private property that they keep a lot of U.S. vehicles, equipment, weapons from World War II. And they take it to different like shows and things like that. and they try and educate the public on the equipment, the men that used it at that time period, you know, what their day in life was for those guys and what it was like in World War II. So they just happened to be near where I live, so tried to reach out to them, tell them who, you know, I was, what company I'm with, that we're making a game, and that we're going to be, you know, adding the US faction to our game, and we'd love to visit, see if they were open to that. And they were very receptive and very gracious and hosted us still and allowed us to come out and tour their facility, climb all over their tanks, take as many reference photos as we wanted. They've been great support after the fact too, when we've had questions about obscure facts and different things we couldn't find normally online. They've been a great resource and help for us there too. So it's been a great partnership with them, and very fruitful, and we're very grateful for it.
It's World War II armor, correct? Based in
Yes.
Florida.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Just wanted to make sure we say their name so they get the right credit. Yeah, like it's been an absolute pleasure working with these people. For our flight simulator combat pilot, we also have to inquire to museums because we need a lot closer detail and documentation of very, very specific things of aircraft and their subsystems and flight model and stuff. And generally dealing with museums is a lot harder than our experience with World War II armor. They really have been an incredible, helpful, and yeah, everything that Tyler said. So we agreed that we would sort of advertise them, and they would also advertise us, and they'd help us make sure that we get things done the right way. And they have been very, very helpful. There's been some remarks that they have given us that we have been unable to address. Like, for example, on some US vehicles, when you, on the tracks, when you do a static turn, it would be only one track that moves and one stays static. So it's not exactly a center turn, but it would be around one, like a turn around one lateral side of the vehicle. And they were keen to point things like that out, but unfortunately our mobility model and pathfinding only accounts for the neutral turn, and we had to turn some of the feedback down. But overall, they have actually been really, really helpful, and we've changed things as much as possible to allocate their feedback, accommodate their feedback.
When it comes to like building, I guess creating the maps, like how do you get resources for that? I guess just like aerial reconnaissance photos from the war. Like how do you, I don't know, recreate how this area looked in 1944?
Yes, a lot of aerial photographs. We have a lot of contacts with people and agencies that have original or really high quality aerial photographs. And that allows us to get the overall appearance right. But then there's the issue of getting the height map correct, because from pictures and from aerial photographs, you can't really gauge how tall this hill was or something like that. So for that, we have to use cartography maps or satellite data, preferably satellite data, because we have a workflow whereby we can input the satellite height map straight into the engine. But sometimes it requires a bit of manual work to get it done. But yeah, you're not far off the mark. All of those things we use.
No, that's cool. It does seem like an interesting challenge.
Seems like a pain in the neck to make a map. That must take so long. Like, I mean, like, is that the single hardest thing to make? Like, out of all the individual assets, I guess? Because, I mean, a map is just not the map, right? It's like, it's all the different terrain and everything, so... Right?
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of work and thought that goes into making maps.
Well, and the maps in the campaign don't necessarily overlap with maps that you use for multiplayer, right?
No, there are some cases where after we've made the single player map, we go like, you know what, this could lend itself quite well to a multiplayer one, and we do a sort of conversion. And that, I think, happened with one map in the Liberation DLC. But usually we plan them separately.
So
we plan, yeah.
Do you even plan the conquest map separately?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we do. So the ones that have to be thought more carefully are the multiplayer ones, so that geographically we don't create an imbalance of terrain and stuff.
Right.
And then what's the cost of the DLC? Have you guys publicly said that yet?
I don't believe we're allowed to tell yet, but
Oh, okay.
it's going to be, it's going to continue the same line of price tags that we have been using until now. We look at how much content there is compared to the other packages, and we just price it accordingly. We don't want to, like, we want to use the same quantification for everything. So it's going to be an affordable price tag that that will definitely, at least in our opinion, be worth the price by far.
Oh,
It's not going to try to take advantage of the demand for the US or anything like this. It's going to be fair and square.
And is the DLC policy that you have now going to kind of stay consistent? Like, I guess, like, you added a faction with Finland and then had Scorched Earth, which expanded on more Eastern Front stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, like, adding a faction like the US and then expanding it in a future DLC, or is that kind of a model you're going with, or is that just subject to change? The DLCs are just whatever you kind of want to do at that time.
No, I mean, there's definitely a lot left for us to tell for the US. We've talked about the airborne paratroopers, and there's the US also fought in North Africa and Italy and in the Pacific. So there's a whole lot that can be done. We just haven't decided the when and the where for it yet. We'll have to see how the game evolves. And right now we want to focus on creating broader steps to depict all the main nations that fought in World War II, wherever possible. And if we see a good opportunity to create a smaller DLC or depict a smaller nation that just fits in really well with what we're doing, then we will do that as well. But right now, our main efforts are in depicting the World War II as broadly as possible, trying to get all the main nations out there and all the most important events out there in an order that's acceptable for our little development team. That's all.
Do you guys have any questions for us? Oh my god, what happened to our church? This half-track is rolling.
Oh boy, I didn't even realize what was going on over here.
Wait, what
A
is
barbecue.
this half-track? This dude has... Is this a flamethrower? Oh, it's 2 flamethrowers?
Yes, sir.
This is absolute schizo. Look at this thing.
Oh my gosh.
Alright, well, fuck, I'll let you handle that.
I will say that is one of the most, I don't know, just calling it fun, but the Scorched Earth DLC, adding the sheer amount of just flame tanks and flame vehicles. They are a lot more fun to use than I originally thought they would be.
I love the Kaarel.
Well,
Yeah,
it is
no, that
called
one's fun too.
It is called Scorched Earth, isn't it? I mean,
Yeah, no, I mean, it checks out. Oh my gosh.
Ready to roll, sir. Aye, sir. Ready to go, sir. Ready to go, sir.
Oh my god, this half-track. There's a pack
well,
40.
This half track in the center of town's about to get annihilated.
I cannot cannot believe I
You
didn't.
were not wrong.
Oh my gosh, but that was a little close to me.
Who did that?
Yeah.
Oh, I had. 8
Okay,
people
seeing the buildings explode is pretty awesome.
The map just became a little bit flatter now.
So I think
Yeah,
that was-
no, that's cool.
So what's been most striking about the DLC in a good or a bad way? Now that you've got your hands on it, what's your first
Seeing-
impressions?
Seeing these maps is awesome with these sorts of buildings and such. The sort of environments that y'all have created for this DLC, and seeing Western Europe opposed to, you know, Russian villages and such. It's pretty neat to see in this game.
Yeah, it's yeah, the maps are really cool. I've always thought the maps are really well designed, but it's interesting because I think the main takeaway for me is that the game just has good bones, like a good foundation. Because think about it, you added a whole new country, RGG. You added a whole new country, and the game doesn't feel, and I mean this as a compliment, it doesn't feel completely broken or anything feels out of whack. It just feels really natural. So I think it's just a testament to like the foundation of the game, and you guys are now, you got the hard part done, and now it's like adding new countries and biomes and skins and everything, and it's building up to like be like a really good franchise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I am like playing this. I can be excited about the future, and even like near future, like playing this DLC more. So.
Yeah, because it'll be exciting to play against U.S. players and see what people come up with. Because I already have some ideas. Like Quad 50 looks interesting for the U.S.
Oh, it's OP. It's ridiculous. It's so much fun though.
The Sherman versus King Tiger.
That did not go well.
As expected.
I think you guys are gonna have to step it up.
It ended predictably.
So Tyler and I are playing with the German doctrine that comes with Liberation. It's it adds certain units that we developed specifically for this DLC, like the different half-track versions that we've seen, or Nashorn, Hummel, Panzerwerfer. Some pretty cool stuff. We also added a new Soviet doctrine that uses Lend-Lease equipment, but we actually gave that one for free.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
cool.
Nice. Yeah, that's part of the Content Update 5, which is the open beta thing that we are running at the moment. And there's no church anymore.
Yeah, I was tired of having my line of sight blocked, so.
This half track is the bane of my existence.
I cannot believe some of these German fellas survived that artillery bombardment.
Wait,
leveled
there are any that all of mine have been killed except.
Oh, okay.
the
I
guy
guess
that was
maybe they
crouching
moved
and
in.
trading.
I was just.
Dude, we're gonna lose. I could not. That half track stopped my entire advance. He knocked out like.
I'm out of
3
ammo with
things.
it. It's my hero of this game.
Yeah. Oh my god. That
Wow.
that half track literally stopped. Like it knocked out 3 of my tanks.
Yeah, it's the best unit of the game. Look at that.
Well, folks, that is going to do it for today's video. I do hope you all enjoyed this first look at Gates of Hell Liberation. I do want to thank Enigma and the developers for joining me in this video. If you enjoyed the video, please be sure to leave a like and comment, as it really does help out the channel. But until next time, this is Wolfpack345 signing off, and I'll see you all on the next one.